Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the show where passion meets purpose, and the game becomes something bigger than the scoreboard. Part of the Daily Parks and Rec Show, hosted by Aaron Locks. This is where we dive into the real impact of youth sports, the lessons, the challenges, the growth, and the moments that stay with us for life. From players to parents, coaches to community leaders, this is your place to feel inspired, connected, and reminded why it all matters. This is Youth Sports Mastery. Let's get into it.
It is. Welcome, everybody, to Youth Sports Mastery. My name is Aaron Locks. I am the host of the show today, and I'm fired up to have my Jersey boy, my Jersey guy coming on. Jon, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Aaron. How you doing?
Life's amazing. If it was any better, it would be illegal. Where else would I want to be but on the Daily Parks and Rec Show? You know, before we get to the spots, I just want to say over 200 episodes. You talk about dedication from Craig and the team at the Daily Parks and Rec Show and what they do. I'm excited that we're going to get a chance, which we'll tease a little later. We'll be down in doing some live shows down in Florida with the National Parks and Rec Association Conference. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But before I get to introduce you and we start talking about everything youth sports, today's topic is going to be a lot of fun and hopefully educational as well. I'm going to toss this over to Craig and see if he can run these spots and let everybody know what we've been up to.
From a simple mic in a rec center to a full-scale media company for the people who power our parks. 200 real stories, 5 original shows, and more to come, with one powerful mission: to lift up the voices of parks and rec professionals across the country. From maintenance crews and young interns and youths who love sports, to directors and public servants making a difference. We've built a platform that honors the unsung heroes behind every clean trail, every weekend tournament, every safe, welcoming park. This milestone isn't just about the content, it's about the people, the passion, the purpose. To every guest, listener, and supporter, thank you. The next chapter starts today. This is DPRS Media Co. Media for public service.
At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of parks and rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together.
You know, I got to tell you, man, every time I see that stuff, it just gives me the chills to think about. It hasn't been that long and all the work that's gone behind the scenes, and to be able to do something consistently. And rumor has it we're getting a little bit better. I, again, want to appreciate everybody that's been listening, reaching out, commenting, diving in. So today, kind of an interesting one in the sense that I've been talking a lot about kind of the situation from youth sports from the ground up, talking about kind of from the bottom up, talking about the kids and that. But before I really dive in, I want to talk about the guest today. Jon, would you introduce yourself, kind of give a little bit of your background? I think it's important that people understand your background, family situation, but also just kind of your history so they can know a little bit more about you and your perspective and where it comes from.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Aaron. But what a great piece. I agree with you. That unbelievable. Yeah, my name is Jon Torine. I'm coming to you from New Jersey, the great state of New Jersey. Um, I was born in New Jersey. My life took a path. I went to Springfield College, small school in Massachusetts, where I studied health and fitness. And you know, sometimes when I think about it and get asked, I'm kind of blown away about how lucky I've been and the people that have helped me. And that's really what it is. So from Springfield, went on. I had coached in the NFL for 17 years as a strength and conditioning coach. Spent my first 3 years in Buffalo with the Bills, the next 14 with the Indianapolis Colts. That was 98 to 2012. So during the real fun years.
Yeah.
An incident on a youth baseball field when my children were small flipped my entire way of thinking up on its head. I wasn't expecting it to. So I went on a journey diving into youth sports at the same time working with the NFL Players Association with retired players through Exos and other things, working in a lot of different youth worlds, running around the country, helping put in systems and leadership, if you will, and some culture in the strength and conditioning, athletic training, medical management world, and then dove full speed into the youth sports world with some things, eventually running a youth sports program. And now with Coach Across America, it used to be Up to Us Sports, where we recruit, hire, and train coaches and partner with nonprofits to up-level up-level capacity in underserved and marginalized communities in terms of what we're doing with sports. So been a fun ride professionally and personally as well.
You know, it's great that you have such a wide range, and that's why I think it's so important everybody hears the story, because obviously from your own kids to coaching and training, what you've done, work in the NFL, your own playing career, you understand college. I mean, literally, there's probably not much in youth sports that you haven't, had a hand in, good, bad, or indifferent, and you kind of seen through the journey. You know, me doing this 40 years, it's been really interesting seeing the evolution of youth sports. And unfortunately, most evolution ends up being a good thing. For me, I'm struggling a little bit. I know those of you, I get on a soapbox. I try not to do it too much, but youth sports has taken a hit, and one of the issues that's happened is that we've gone from 9 out of 10 kids maybe 20 years ago playing a sport to now 5 out of 10 kids are. And John, you've seen it, and you talk about the incident at a baseball field. I don't know how much you want to dive into it, but let's start from the top down. I normally start from bottom up, but with you, let's start from the top down. In the NFL players that you worked with, and again, congratulations for what a wild ride and getting to do that. And obviously, you're good at what you do. But let's go from the top players. You worked with some of the best in the game, obviously at the professional level, NFL level. Tell me a little bit about if there's a common thread that you saw with them in terms of what characteristics that they brought every day or things that they did that maybe would translate all the way back down to youth. Is there anything that you saw in the players that was like? I mean, I'll give you one thing. For me is I just got to go to a Niner game not too long ago, and I sat very close, got some good seats, and I was sitting there and I'm watching the world famous wonderful tight end. Just he's having a blast down there. He's having fun. You know what I mean? And so he brought joy to it, and seeing that happen. I'm wondering, and maybe that, but more, what are some of the common threads that if I'm a parent, rec professional, that I want to make sure I instill and support, right, going forward? What do you see from the top level down? Normally I start from the bottom, but let's go from the top. What did you see in those guys that were there, that had the longevity with it?
No, it's a beautiful question. I tell people all the time, I was so fortunate with the Bills. I worked for Marv Levy, who was the head coach. My mentor in strength and conditioning was Rusty Jones. So I saw the latter part of the careers of the Jim Kellys and Bruce Smiths, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, that whole crew, onto the Colts with our young team, working with Coach Dungy, Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, all of this group, Bill Polian being the president. And you show up to work every day, And I haven't had an original thought my whole life. I haven't had to. So if you turn your ears on to your question, values travel, right? And so when you have instilled values, however that happens, they travel and they can fertilize the group.
Yeah.
And leadership travels. Good leadership travels, so does bad.
Yeah.
Great culture travels, so does bad. And so when you get together like-minded folks around a common mission and goal and purpose, and fill it in with these type of folks with a common mission in the middle,
yeah,
you'll do amazing things together, because you'll pull me up when I'm down, I'll pull you up when you're down. And interestingly enough, with Coach Dungy, who we affectionately refer to as the Dalai Lama, we say when the Dalai Lama is confused about life, he calls Tony. And, when Tony came on, it was 2002. He'd been there 4 years already. And Tony, before he took the job, tells the owner, look, football is the third thing in my life. It's the third most important thing in my life. It's not first, and it's not second, and it'll never be. And that's how it's going to be for our group. And if that's not okay, I'm not your guy.
Yeah. And
it was faith, family, and football. Now, he didn't put his faith on anybody, but he made sure that, hey, your faith, your family, and then football. And when you start not just saying that, a lot of lip service out there.
Yeah.
Actually doing it, like making me as the strength coach go to every single one of my wife's doctor's appointments when she was pregnant and got mad at me when I didn't go to one. Only time he got mad at me.
Yeah.
I'm aware of. And you actually live it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everything's calm. We all understand what's going on. And then you have this unbelievable focus.
Yeah.
And unbelievable place that we're going to get after this thing together. And it's going to be a lot of things. And we're going to work through these things. At the end of the day, if we have alignment around what we are. So establishing what is this?
Yeah.
And who are the people that want to bring this? And it's not for everybody.
Right.
It's not. It's hard.
Yeah.
And so these are some of the things. And some of these guys that, I've been fortunate, guys in the Hall of Fame, in other words, they just had this, I don't have time for anything but me and us being great.
Yeah.
And whatever that takes to be great, that's what we're going to do.
When you talk about it, it's interesting because, again, we're talking about the best in the world. And yet what you just talked about translates to the littles. I was blessed enough to work for John Wooden, and same mentality, same, faith, family, and then basketball or sport or whatnot, whatever that is. But the other part, which I thought was really interesting, he would say, it's amazing how much can be accomplished when no one cares who gets the credit.
Right on.
Right. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about if you're in Parks and Recreation, you're helping kids out, if you're on a team and you're doing these things, that's the deal, right? Create like-minded, create a culture that I love how you said it, it travels, it can be together. And if something, I said this the other day and I love it, but I use it all the time. And you may know where it's from, but if you don't, go back to your fourth grade civics teacher and have a conversation or history. But we hold these truths to become self-evident, right? The good coaches, the good people in sports and life, they just appear and you see them and you go, originals are easy to spot, but really hard to find. Right? And so, but to your point, we can steal from the best of the world and bring those to the table, right? Every original thought, well, maybe, but Coach Wooden said that. Coach Dungy said that. Pat Riley said that. Whatever it is, which is great. It's the deliverable. So when you saw the coaches that delivered that for these folks that were there, you talked about like-minded and culture. How is that created? How did that work with you? Because you're a strength and conditioning coach, which means you're making people work out. You're doing something that some of them don't necessarily love, and they've got to hit reps, they've got to hit goals, they've got to gain weight, whatever these things are to make it happen. So how do you translate the the esoterical of we're all together doing this to the individual, you better do this because that's what's commanded of you to be successful.
Yeah. Individual goals also help the team.
Yeah.
Provided they're laid out that way. Now, you're only really as good as your leadership supports you to be. So if Coach Dungy and Bill Polian didn't say, this is how we do things here in terms of conditioning and performance and nutrition and travel and all the things that we do, and say, look, Bill Polian stood up in front of the guys and said, look, if you're not here training with Jon, it's going to affect your contract. And that's how much we believe in what we're doing. Okay. There's a lot of ways to do things. Doesn't mean our way is the best way. It has nothing to do with that. But there's a lot of ways to do things. We believe in what we're doing here. If it didn't, Jon's gone.
Yeah.
And then that permeates. And then one of the masterful things Tony did, and Marv Levy was the same way, and I'm sure Coach Wooden was the same way. And Coach Dungy took a lot from his Steeler days with Chuck Noll. Yeah. And he gave ownership, like the team owned it, right? And so now the team's policing itself. I had to do very, very little raising my voice. I couldn't even get to a guy that was not bringing it before a Jeff Saturday got to him, a Peyton, a Reggie.
The team took care of it. Yeah, that's nice.
The team takes care of it. But that just doesn't happen, right? Because culture is going to happen whether you like it or not. And so
good and bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so how are we going to define it, and what is it going to look like? And then when you bring in other folks, do they fit into the culture or not? Right. And so it just keeps permeating and permeating and permeating and permeating. And don't get me wrong, you're going to have if you have that and you have your disagreements, great, fantastic. You ought to have your disagreements.
Right.
And so that's kind of, that's how you do it inside. And then it's funny to me because pro athletes are the most competitive. They'll bet on a piece of paper going in a trash can, right? Yeah. So the easiest thing in the world, it's fishing with a gun in a barrel. All you got to do is tweak something competition a little bit, and like that's the easiest thing in the world. Matter of fact, the hardest part is actually pulling them back. And so that's a whole different level. Like actually, all right, here's what we got to do to get ready for Sunday or whatever it is.
Right.
So there's a lot. Not a lot. I don't want to act like it's brain surgery, but there's a lot in there. And when you talk about, you're probably familiar with self-determination theory, right? Let's give them autonomy. Let's have the self-efficacy to believe that they can be competent and do better. And then let's connect. Let's relatedness, self-determination theory, autonomy, competency, relatedness. And if that's kind of permeating in your brain in any position, I don't care what you're doing. You use that tool, not manipulative, real.
Right.
And you watch magic happen just with that simple thing.
It's funny you say that because so at the National Academy of Athletics, one of the things that we use is my talk, teach, play system. And part of that is proximal play. And for those that don't know, the term proximal is basically the ability when you put kids, players, whatever it is, really ties in what you're saying, in the situation where they get a chance to learn it, experience it, and be challenged, right? Play, because challenge is play, right? Competition is play. Sorry, guys, that's part of the deal. Yet not push so hard that they don't have a chance to be successful. I need you to lift 1,000 pounds. I can't do that. All right, well, let's start with 10, right? But if you're coaching, especially in recreational sports, because I feel like what happens is the kids are being pushed to play at the highest level no matter what. But if they can't be successful there, then instead of pushing them there, why not put them in a place where they're challenged and they have that balance and allow them to have success, understand, develop confidence, develop the rules, understanding, and develop the friendships and all the other wonderful things that come along with it. and then they can elevate up. And what you said is interesting, because the guys that do it on that level, the Peyton Mannings of the world or whoever they are that are out there, there is a joy they bring to it. And that's got to be based on they love the play, they love the work, they love the journey, not just that piece, right?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Two things come up as you're saying that. Secondly, everybody talks about process and all that. The guys that really excel, I'm sure there's exceptions.
Yeah.
They loved the process of football, of getting better, of the film, of practice, of training, of the bus rides, of the flights, all of it. The guys that were like to say they were in the NFL don't make it.
Yeah.
They love the steps of all of that. To what you're speaking to, it's beautiful. It's proximal play. It reminds me, great martial arts. They'll take a white belt, a black belt, and whatever the middle belt is, purple or whatever it might be. And to your point, the purple belt will play with the white belt to work on their fundamentals. The purple belt will play with the black belt to understand what that looks like. The black belt knows enough. He knows he can destroy him, no different than I can steal a ball from my 6-year-old nephew all day. It doesn't help anybody.
Right.
But I can know what that looks like. And then I compete with my same.
Yeah.
And then I sharpen my skills. And so it's a really nice way. You made me think about that, where they're on that razor's edge of that, because nobody likes getting the ball swatted out of their face 10 times out of 10 times. Doesn't help me. And nobody likes go win a game 100-0. Tell me how excited you are.
Right. And it's funny, when we were kids and we played down the street, I don't know if my mom always said, go outside. That was her favorite thing to say, go outside. Right. Okay. So you go outside and you play. And yet we had big kids, little kids. We had it all. And we all play and we pick teams and we played, right? You know what I mean? You get lumpy. Well, if I got to get stuck with lumpy, I get the next 2 picks, whatever it is. And we created it, right? And yet what happened was there's this magic that happened where we self-corrected the games to keep them fair, right? Because, wait a second, John is on that team and you guys are blowing us out. So we would finish that game, start another game, and we would trade and we'd figure it out ourselves. And that those skills, I think, that kids get at that level and the ability to figure things out on their own is kind of missing a little bit. And I think about, you talked about yourself when you're coming up. I'm curious, what made it that you were able to make it to the level you're able to, and then transition into the coaching side? I'm curious about that when I think about, because obviously you played as a kid, right? And you played probably for the love of the game than anything else. And then you started realizing, you know what? Hey, I'm not 6'10", and I'm not going to make it in hoops. And I love football, and I love this component. So that's where it went. So talk about that a little bit. I'm curious about that journey for you.
Yeah, no, what a beautiful phrase, though, self-corrected. I love that. Yeah, stars aligned, man. Like I was, when you grow up in New Jersey and in about 9th grade, you realize you're not going to play for the Giants because you've looked in the mirror, and if you looked at the people that gave you life, you're like, this ain't going to happen. Right? And so I became really, really infinitely curious about how do I take this genetic mess that I've got and turn it into and maximize it. Fortunately, I was scared to hell of steroids and other things because I had seen things. So thank God I didn't go that route. But I said, okay, how do I do this? Like, I'm slow. It's awful. Like, I don't, right? And so I became completely obsessed with getting physically better.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? And then that grew into and in those days, I didn't even appreciate what the neck up was.
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay, it's all physical, and you just, and then you have these coaches screaming at you, and you just get mentally tough, and there you go. And so that took me on a journey. I got hurt a few times, went to college to play, got hurt, but was obsessed when I found out there was a career that I could actually coach in human performance and strength and conditioning and help people get bigger, faster, stronger, and all that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
nutrition. And I was like, oh, I'll do that all day. How do I do that? You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you talk about people that just, anybody that thinks they did anything alone, I would invite them to ask themselves again.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, right.
even if you learn what not to do, they taught you. And so when I was 16 years old, Johnny Parker, who was a strength coach at the Giants, spent 45 minutes on the phone with me one day during training camp. Like, who does that? Like,
Yeah, right. Wow.
16-year-old kid, like, what are you doing? And years later, when I saw him on the fields and just crazy. So I go to school. I'll tell you, this is crazy. So because I was so into it, I at a young age joined the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So I was reading their journals and studying, and that's all I did. It's all I love to absorb and learn. And, like when there's no clock on the wall, you're just what you're doing, right?
Right.
And so my sophomore, bear with me, this might take a minute. My sophomore year, I take this nutrition course, and it was taught by an old school professor, and he'd be insulted if I called him a professor. He was the baseball coach at Springfield, Coach Royce, who's since passed on. Wonderful, wonderful man, old school farmer, everything you picture about an old school Western Mass farmer who coaches baseball, that was Coach Royce.
Okay.
Intimidating guy. I was scared to death of him. And first day of class or first week, he comes in, and he's got the spot built shoes on and the cap and all that. And we're going to teach basic nutrition to a bunch of Northeast idiot kids, right? And so he says, all right, I'm going to pass out a paper, answer this question. If you get this question right, it's like you get an A on the test or something, or the class, because nobody ever gets this. I've been doing this 30 years, the typical speech. Nobody does this. I'm wasting my time. You kids are a pain in the ass. So he asked the question. And I'm four rows over, 4 seats back. I'll never forget it. And I was like, oh my God, I know this. I was like, I can't believe I know this. So, but then as I'm watching him get more aggravated, I'm like, I'm not freaking writing this down. It's not worth it. This guy would probably choke me if I gotta get it right.
Yeah.
So I'm hemming and hawing as he's collecting papers, looking at him, you idiots. No, wrong, dumb, right? And I'm like, so now I'm like, all right, forget it. I could probably use an A,
to keep my average up.
It'd help me, yeah. Like I could use any help I can get, right? And so I write it down. And the only reason I happen to know that, literally, Aaron, the night before, I'm reading the NSCA journal. And I had read an article, and it was something about a B vitamin.
Mm.
And that was the question that he asked.
Oh, wow.
And it happened to be this B vitamin. I don't know if it was B6 or B12, and I don't know if the question was, what B is after 11.
Right.
But I was like, that's the only reason I knew it. So I'm like, screw it. So I write it down, pass it up to the thing. He stops in his tracks. He's like, whose is this? Who wrote this? And I'm like this, hiding behind a kid in front of me, right? I'm like, forget it. This isn't worth it, right? So if I said, that's my coach, you see me after class.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, here we go. This is going to be bad, right? So now there's 55 minutes of just brutal anxiety waiting for the end of class. I get up to the end of class. He waits. He says to me, how did you know that? I just told him what I told you. I said, Coach, I was reading last night. Like, it was a lot. It was crazy. He goes, what are you doing reading that stuff? He goes, what are you doing here? I said, well, I want to be a strength coach. My defense coordinator in high school said this is where you need to go to school if this is what you want to do. And so I'm here. He goes, you want to be a strength coach? I say, yeah. I don't really want to live in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
So come to my office. Walk with me. Oh, geez, what is going on? So now I'm walking with him. He's just making small talk. Family, where you from? But not like friendly. Like,
stoic. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
I'm like, it was the longest walk of my life. So he sits me down in his office. He picks up the phone and he dials, and I'll speed this up here for you. But long story short, he winds up dialing Rusty Jones, strength coach of the Buffalo Bills at the time, who he had a close relationship with, who he had coached, who he knew. And I could hear him, and he's talking to him, and I could tell that they get this is. And I knew who Rusty Jones was because I studied all these guys.
Right.
He puts him on the phone with me. He goes, I got a kid I think be great for you. Puts him on the phone. Wow. I go, what? I don't even know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I talk to Rusty. I'm shaking. I'm 18 years old.
Yeah.
And Rusty starts talking to me, what are you doing? He says, what year are you? I said, I'm a sophomore. He said, sophomore? He goes, you can't volunteer with me until you're a senior, because I could be fired 3 times by then. Like, call me, stay in touch. Coach Royce likes you, great. Stay in touch. So I stayed. So, okay, thanks. Hand him back the phone. Coach Royce gives me the conditioning manual, tells me to go study it. I wind up taking about 500 nickels to the Cumberland Farms and copying it. And I read that thing every night. I had it memorized. Didn't know what the hell it meant, but I had it all memorized. And I stayed in touch with Rusty. Long story, very long. I wind up going up there, stayed in touch with him for 2 years.
Wow.
Going up there and volunteering and interning with the Bills. That was in 1995. Right at kind of the end of their 4 Super Bowl run. And lo and behold, they wind up hiring me to stay on. There was no job there, which was insane.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, Bill Polian calls. Jim Moore is the head coach with Indy. It's 1998. He interviews me for the head job with Indianapolis. We're going to draft Peyton Manning in a few months. And I go there, and we all grabbed onto Peyton's coattails and rode a nice Super Bowls and all these wonderful things. But when I can pause there because I can tell you what switched my entire life with the kids.
Yeah, we're going to tease that when we come back. I just want to say I appreciate. It's interesting. We talk a lot about being pleasantly persistent in pursuit of your passion.
Oh.
And you did that, brother. You did that. So I know we're up against it. We're going to run get our spot, get some water. We'll come back, and then we're going to pick up on the rest with Jon here on the Youth Sports Mastery. So go ahead, guys, run that spot. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Are you ready to lead the next generation of Parks and Rec? Whether you're a student, intern, or rising leader, welcome to the Young Professionals Network by DPRS Media Co. Our mission? To empower early career professionals in parks and recreation through mentorship, visibility, and real-world leadership development. Our vision? A national network of passionate, prepared, and purpose-driven leaders who shape the future of public service. Starting now. Powered by the Daily Parks and Rec Show, YPN gives you access to exclusive interviews, career-building resources, behind-the-scenes content, and live events, all created by and for the next wave of Parks and Rec professionals. Learn from seasoned directors, build your brand, get involved with national conversations that matter. Whether you're in youth sports, facilities, programming, or policy, YPN is your launchpad. Young Professionals Network, your career, your community, your story.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content, we elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. And powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
It's tough not to get chills when those things come through, man. It just
I'm
really,
telling you.
almost like we're figuring this out. So good job, guys. I appreciate all the support.
Beautiful.
By the way, those of you that have been sending emails in and message through Facebook and LinkedIn, thank you. We appreciate the positive feedback and some of the insights and and thoughts and stirring up ideas for conversation. So we're here with Jon. We were just talking a lot. It's interesting about, again, the faith, the family, the sport, understanding the balance of that is so important with family and, how that goes forward. But I want to talk a little bit about, so you've got a child and you've got, right? Two
boys. Yeah.
Two boys, right? I'm just kind of walking through, setting the table. So you've played, you've coached, and now let's talk about your part of the most rewarding components and most challenging pieces of taking what you've done and translating that to your kids.
Yeah, as I'm telling the story previously, it's not to talk about me or what I did.
Right.
When I think about, when somebody just believes in you.
Yeah.
And like, whatever that is, that gets passed to you through the air.
Right.
And this coach, Royce, who I didn't even know him. And you take a stand for somebody and believe in what's possible for them. And you and more than they even. And I was fortunate. The family I grew up in, had a lot of unbelievable support. And I tried to, you talk about before about Coach Wooden.
Yeah.
I bet there's not a place that you either don't think about something that you learn from him. I don't care if it's with your family, your job, your relationships, whatever it is that, and anybody that probably played for him, was around him, learned from him in any capacity, takes to the dinner table or anywhere else.
Right.
And so again, it's kind of back to, how do we want to be?
Right.
How do we want to be? Not what's my identity. And by the way, your identity is not your sport.
Right.
And so, like I said, I'm married 25 years. My wife's a rock star. And I have two awesome boys who, unfortunately for them, got some good amount of my genetics. They got her brain, so they're lucky there. But they play sports through school, and because I had seen what I've seen, and I've seen the life cycle. Not only have I seen 3-year-olds,
right,
I've also seen former and retired players. So I've kind of seen the life cycle. I know what it is.
Yeah.
Of it, and not everybody retires like John Elway,
right,
or Derek Jeter, and so as my guys are growing up, I said, look, I'm never going to coach you in anything. Like, I'm your dad. And that's not, and I honor and respect the people that coach. And I hold coaching in the highest regard. That's why I bring this up. It's the lens I kind of look at everything through.
Right.
And I can appreciate, and I wish I had the answers. I don't, but so many, almost everybody in the youth world is at some point coaching. If you're coaching, you're probably coaching your kid or a relative of some kind, right?
Yes.
And so, but I said, I want to be present and enjoy it and all that. And they played the sports growing up and did all these things. The hardest, so it's beautiful to watch them have the joy of it.
Right.
But if you're like me, Aaron, growing up and you had 10 coaches, well, 5 put me in a psychologist chair, and 5 are the reason I was able to go coach in the NFL. Yeah. So the sport is benign. The ball doesn't do a thing. The pool is just water, and the track is just rubber.
Right.
I need to know who the caring adults in the community are in front of these children who have the power and the privilege and the platform to stand in front of these kids.
Right.
The trouble is, as you know better than just about anybody, is it's quicker to get a library card than to sign up, or it's quicker to sign up to coach your kid than it is to get a library card.
Right.
That still even exists in the world. And I'm sure we'll get to that kind of stuff. But so I was always very, very interested in watching how my kid responded and reacted to coaching, what that was all about.
Right.
And so, as a parent, we're
It's interesting because it's a vehicle. Again, a lot of people, I think that the vehicle's changed. So when I was younger, even when my kids and whatnot, it wasn't the vehicle of sport to get to play college or get paid to play. It was a vehicle of sport to get to be a part of community, to learn the life lessons, to be able to be a good citizen, to be able to excel in life, right? I mean, that's what a different perspective. And the kids are being sold, more so the families, the parents being sold this bill of goods that the only way your child, I know they're only 6, but the only way they're going to make it to play in the NFL is if they do this and this and this. And unfortunately, it's the exact wrong thing. My article that's coming out, which is Reclaim Recreation, which will be published coming out next week, is talking about the duty of Parks and Recreation, the obligation and the opportunity that if they reclaim it, to me, recreation departments that embrace the community and put the kids out there for the love of the game, giving them all the things we talked about, a safe environment to fail and grow and learn and all these things together is so much more important to the whole child, body, mind, spirit, right? And development, to lift them up, to be good citizens, to be able to be good students, to be able to be good community members, to be able to find that balance, rather than, unfortunately, being pushed to specialize, being pushed to become elite at such a young age or that level. I feel like we've kind of lost our way, and I really think that in the rec space, that's one of the reasons why I do what I do. I was just asked the other day, why does Aaron Locks do what he does on an interview? And I said, it's real simple. My dad left when I was 3. My mom was a wonderful hippie mom and said, figure it out for yourself. And the coaches along the way, to your point, those coaches that came into my life that helped me fall in love with my own confidence, my own id, my own persona. And some sports I was really good at and some I wasn't that good at, but I still played them all, right? And that's part of the journey as you go forward. So how has your professional background helped you, let's say, off the court, off the field, right? Now in your life now, because you, man, knowing you as well as I do, I'm seeing it. You're a deep thinker, right? You know what I mean? You really like to break it apart and build it back together. So I guess what I'm asking, let's change it another way. Thinking of what you know, now that you've seen behind the curtain and you know what you know, right? What do you think about, and how could you think that we could help the youth to have the experience that you and I both feel they really need, which is more focused on the whole child, the citizen, the life experience, rather than just that 1% that potentially could make it to that level?
By the way, that 1% or whatever that real number is, it's low. They're going to make it in spite of you anyway.
Fair enough.
For the most part. We'll table that for a second. So, by the way, your article that you wrote talking about heroes at Parks and Rec, which I hope you can send out or have people read, was from my lens, spot on, inspiring, and right.
Good. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so, a couple things to that. When this incident occurred with my children on a second grade baseball field, and that was my first eye-opening experience. I've been locked up in pro sports for decades, and said, "This is what's going on, like this chaos." And I said to a friend of mine, when I sat on the bleachers and saw this scene with parents screaming, coaches going bananas, kids crying, equipment everywhere, and I said, "What's going on here?" To which he told me, "Oh, John, I know you're not here much. This is normal. Don't worry about it." And I said, "This is normal." And we were in the Midwest where some of the most amazing, nice people on the planet live. And I said, "What if this is good for the kids?" To which he wanted nothing to do with the conversation. And and I said to myself, I don't know if my friend is right, but I'm going to go find out. He might be, he might not be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I went on that journey. And so I'm coming to your point and your question with some things. And I started to go on this journey across the country because I've been around. I got to know some people who allowed me to come and learn and all that. And as I'm running around, and then I learned the statistic we're all probably familiar with. Okay, 70% of kids are quitting youth sport. Well, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
70% of your business stopped coming, would you continue to operate the same way?
Right.
But 70% of our kids are quitting by 12, and I think it's worse now.
Yeah.
And we're going to operate the same way or worse. And then so that stopped me in my tracks. Found Amanda Visick's work at George Washington University talking about what fun really is and what these 81 determinants of fun, because you can say, well, it's not fun. Okay, fun's an explosive term. What does that even mean? How do we put that into action? How do we have fun? And that gets me to an interesting point in just a second, this fun word. Then, in my own being naive, when I realized the access and opportunity difference in zip codes, I said, oh, we got a problem.
We do.
So I sat there and I said to myself, okay, my friend was right. He did say this was normal. Where he was wrong was telling me not to worry about it.
Yeah.
And so that moment I said, okay, I got to find folks and lock arms with folks that are doing it the right way. That's what led me to you today, Aaron, from 10, 15 years ago, more.
Yeah.
Is this journey of locking arms with people that want to do it the right way, quote. Okay.
Right.
So what does that mean? So our beautiful parks and recreation folks and others like it. I'm really bothered and growing when my kids were growing up playing. I live in a beautiful little town on the coast of Jersey, small coastal town surrounded by water and all that. And there's a lot of competitive leagues, what you call, and that, right. And I kept hearing this phrase because I grew up playing rec sports and all that, and it's 100 years ago and it doesn't matter. I kept hearing this phrase, just rec. It's just rec.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this just rec? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then I started hearing there's a little word, the word and the word or. And so then I started hearing, well, if you want to play competitive, you go over there. If you want to have fun, you go over there. So it's competitive or fun. And I'm like, you don't know that those things are together. The word is and.
Yeah, right.
You just don't know how to do it or say it. And by the way, over there, they're selling dreams. Your kid isn't Derek Jeter, I can assure you. I know what that looks like.
Right.
He's not.
Right.
And so this phrase that came out, and it's so insulting to say just rec.
Yeah.
But our challenge, Aaron, is because to your article, they are the community heroes. Who else is bringing this community together?
Right.
Right? Our rec program's got baseball parades. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But if we can then take those folks called coaches,
right,
and support them in what they're doing. And if you want to coach, wonderful. And you want to be a ref or an umpire, an official, wonderful. And if you want to be a parent, wonderful. But you got to pick one. You don't do both.
Pick a lane, baby. Pick a lane. Yeah.
And coach, you can't sit in it. I know you think you can.
Right.
Right. So now, how do we put the people in front of the kids, and then those awesome rec folks?
Right.
I've been to the New Jersey Park and Rec Association meetings in Atlantic City. I've met so many of these directors across the state and other places, and nobody wants to do good more than them.
That's right. They're good people, man. Parks and Rec are good people.
Oh my God! And it's like it just gets attracted,
yeah.
And so due to whatever reasons you want to talk, everybody's busy, so park that. And so, how can we then support this? I can know how to do healthy competition in a fun way. Steve Kerr's value at the Golden State Warriors is joy, as you brought up the other day.
Love it.
That they're having fun.
Yeah.
And fun doesn't mean rainbows, cupcakes, and grab ass. Pardon my language, right? Fun is progressing and learning. And if you really want to dive into what fun is, go read Amanda Visick's work on the 81 determinants of fun. And it's out of George Washington University. And so if we can take that and put action to it, it becomes, oh, we can do this here. By the way, it doesn't have to cost $5,000. You don't have to go stay past 10 million schools to stay in a pink eye motel to play the same kids that are in your town.
Right.
Parents on the weekends and all the things we know. So we have to work on the narrative and but giving the tools for these beautiful people that are volunteering their time. And you can come here and have an unbelievable organized experience with your family, grow, learn, fail, make mistakes, and have a community and relationships. We won a Super Bowl. Our guys can't tell you to score the game, but they can tell you all about the bus rides and the flights.
Right.
And so this is what I think, not to rally against a just rec phrase, but to rally for what's possible in the community, because the dream sellers are just that. And so let's stop selling dreams and promises, because we have no ability to make logical decisions when our biology is involved and our DNA is involved.
That's right. Well, you know, it's interesting.
That's a little rant.
I'm just thinking about it and going, you know, man, it's if we can empower Parks and Recreation, that's I think one of the reasons why the National Cap Athletics has thrived, is because our partnership with over 350 municipalities is helping someone that runs a Parks and Recreation department that may not have the skill set to help bring a flag football program to life, to help the coaches be certified and trained and in all the different components, everything from classroom management to talk, teach, play, to bully prevention, to, you know, all these things that, like you said, because it should be more difficult to become a coach than to get a library card. That being said, get your library card, by the way. But on the other hand, let's think about that for a second, because if I'm a parent and I'm busy, I have to see the value in what you're trying to bring to me, John, or else I don't want to do this. So if we can educate the parents that participating in Parks and Recreation programs is good for your kids, great for your relationship with your son and daughter if you do it the right way. Because, you know, as a parent, you can't make their journey amazing for these kids, but you can absolutely ruin it. You know, when I did a parent orientation not too long ago, and I had about 450, 500 parents in the gym, and I said, all right, everybody, how many of you are excited for your kid to fail this season? And they all looked at the guy who was nuts. And I said, yeah, you know, you got to learn to embrace the suck, right? Your kids aren't that good right now. That doesn't mean they're going to be horrible forever. But if you embrace that now and you understand, and then we can build within that. So within that Parks and Rec, within that group, is actually 3 different cities came together. We're able to build something where now there's a foundation to help these kids. Equally important is to help these parents, but it developed this sense of community and camaraderie that's amazing. And I got to imagine that you talked about culture. If we can help the Parks and Recreation departments to feel empowered, to not be afraid of it, and to not give in, to not just say, you know what, the club is serving more kids than we can, whatever, because you know as well as I do, they're not serving everybody. And unfortunately, their focus might not be on what we think is the most important, right? Go back to the very beginning, right? Faith, family, and the sport, right? This situation here, it's not about faith and it's not about family. It's about that sport, because that they believe that, and they're selling that 1%, that one possibility that your child, but the fear, that's the part to me, they're selling that, which is so frustrating, right?
Yeah, the fear that you're falling behind. I don't know behind what.
Right. Yeah. The race to nowhere. There was an article about that, the race to nowhere, because the reality is that, like you said, if your kid's that good and they're athletic, A, they're going to be seen, and B, they're going to fall in love with it. But Buster Posey, when I was with the Giants, San Francisco Giants television commercials, and we were talking about what would it take for your child to have a chance to play high school varsity, collegiately, or get paid to play. And we were talking about determination and hard work, but all these things, and they're important, don't get me wrong. But Posey said passion. You as a parent, if you can help your child find their passion, then they'll want to work at it hard enough to develop the skill level that hopefully exceeds even their athleticism, to give them a fighting chance to be within that 1%.
Yeah, no doubt. And so when you can discover and perhaps assist somebody in discovering what they're infinitely curious about. Peyton Manning's infinitely curious about splitting the atom on quarterback play. And he woke up every morning and went to bed every night he's a family man, and of course, family's first with him. But infinitely curious about that. If you want to be infinitely curious about the S&P 500, you'll learn and study and all that. So, and then it becomes your passion.
Right.
And I love what you're saying. And so when I just talk about with a lot of our parents, if your kid's the best in the county in baseball, and they might play minor league ball, and if they do, they'll be on a bus for 5 years. They'll probably blow out a knee. They're making welfare salary,
right?
But they're playing pro ball.
Yeah.
And do you want to cost a relationship around that? And by the way, if they go play for the Giants, great. What does it have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Relative to anything? And pro sports are a terminal experience also.
Right.
And so now you're done. And now what? And the average career in the NFL is 3.5 years.
Right.
So like what toward what end? And check it. Is it your frustration in your own career, your ego about, you could talk at the local watering hole about your child and what great things they're doing athletically and all that. So like, I tell parents this all the time. Ask your child, you talk about passion. Because I hear this all the time. No, they love it. Great. Do they love it? I want you to have an uncomfortable conversation. So, do you love playing X? Yeah, I love it. Okay. Or do you love that I love it? Because sometimes kids aren't dumb.
Yeah.
They know, like, oh, I get this connection, and sometimes conditional love, but they're not thinking like conditional and unconditional.
Right.
And so, oh, mom and dad, aunt and uncle, whoever, they love this. And so I love that they love it, and this is a connection we have.
Right.
Don't make that. It's great if you're connecting on it, but if they're not loving it, like, you got to check in. And so, do they love it, or do they love that you love it? Also, when you're paying $5,000, they know how much you're paying roughly.
Right. Yeah, relative. Yeah.
And there's a guilt that takes place when they fall out of love with it.
Yeah.
And they keep going, and it gets really ugly. But they're like, well, they spent all this money. I can't. And so check in.
When I do the parent orientations, and we do those with the National Academy of Athletics, we have a parent quiz, and you take the quiz. How important is their practice on time? How important it is what position they play? How important with the batting order? How important whatever it is? And then you take that quiz, and then you ask your child the same questions without telling them your answers, and you compare the two.
I love that.
Holy, right? Yeah, it's an eye opener. All right, we've got a couple minutes left. I want to get something that can go out to the parents and go out to the rec professionals that are watching the people. Tell me, I'm giving you a magic wand. You mentioned the word coach. I want to maybe dig in a little bit, but you have a magic wand and you can fix youth sports journey and make it better. Mo better. Here's your magic wand. You got 2 minutes. Tell me. Let's go. Break it down for me. What you got, John? How are we going to do that? What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think we have to get our coaches understanding what it looks like, separate from the 2-3 zone or how to hit and all that. And you got to be competent and know what to do. But we have more things now than ever of how to learn. I can go learn how to coach X's and O's on YouTube and get by.
Right.
But how do we actually connect with kids and meet them where they are and give sports back to the kids? And what does that look like from the coaches? What does that look like from everybody that's front facing to the children? Children are fine. We've messed them up.
Right. Yeah. It's not the kids.
It's us. They're fine.
It's the adults. Yeah.
They're fine. So let's check that and understand what that is and how to coach kids on using this. It's cute to say, and everybody says it, but this truly is a vehicle and a platform of greater things, and of the present and all the things we know. And understand, just because you show up to a sport, again, doesn't mean it's going to take care of discipline and teamwork and heart. It's who's in front of it. It's your behavior in the stands.
Yeah.
It's and the officials and how this works together. And then these great people running it from behind the scenes, these Parks and Rec directors and other folks, is it organized? Is the communication clear? Do we know everything? And has the standard of behavior been set and we know what it is? Because you got to call in the parents. It's cute to say get rid of them. Good luck.
No.
Why would you do that?
No. Like you said, it's bring it all together, because together we're all going to achieve more, and that's where we're going to go with it. All right. So here's the deal. If anybody wants to find out more about what you're talking about, how do they reach out to you? How do they find you, Jon?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's the best place. So
LinkedIn's probably a good place. And I'm happy to have my emails, jtorine@gmail. I like to talk to people, JTORINE@gmail. They can holler at you, Aaron. You know how to get me real quick, and all that. But I'm happy to lend an ear or any sort of support when it comes to our kids.
Love, absolutely. Well, the passion you have for this, the thought process, everything you're bringing is so great. I'm looking forward to working with you more, spending more time, and bringing this and evolving this. And like you said, giving it back. The one thing I'll say to, if you're a parent out there, remember that you may feel the pressure, but your ability as a parent should not be judged and would not be judged based on how great of an athlete and your level your child plays at. The reality is be a great parent. Like we all know, that's what it's about, unconditional love, and the things that we helped us to grow and go and make it a great journey. So on behalf of everybody here at the Youth Sports Mastery and Daily Parks and Rec Show, thanks everybody for paying attention, listening, and giving us your time. If you want to get in touch with me, check out nationalacademyathletics.com. You can catch all the stuff we got. I'm on LinkedIn and all the socials and all that. We appreciate it. And we are going to see you next Thursday. Excited to keep this ball rolling. We've got Project Play. We got some really good stuff coming up. So, Jon, I appreciate your time and look forward to catching up with you soon as well. So we'll see you guys next time where we talk everything to talk, teach, play, youth sports. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Jon.
Thanks, Aaron. Awesome.
Behind every thriving park, every safe playground, every event-ready field, there's a team working before sunrise and long after sunset. This is Facility Maintenance, the only show created for and by the unsung heroes of Parks and Recreation. Brought to you by DPRS Media Co., where real work gets real recognition. From restrooms to rec centers, HVAC to turf tech, we go beyond the job site into the heart of operations that keep our communities moving. Our mission? To elevate maintenance teams through stories, solutions, and shared experience. Our vision? A world where every facility crew is seen, valued, and fully supported. Each episode features operators, innovators, and leaders, sharing tools, tech, and tactics that make the impossible look easy. Facility maintenance isn't just a job. It's purpose, it's passion, and now it's a show. Facility Maintenance, where tools meet purpose, where work becomes legacy. Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.